vision of doing VR for my notes. I have a bunch of notes like this that I have on my wiki, and because before it was using mind maps, I don't know if some of you used it, it's pretty good to synthesize information, but at some point when you have 200, 500, 1,000 mind maps, to me it didn't work anymore. So I started to do it on a wiki, and then I started to print them, and then put them on my wall, and then my better half was like, half of the flat can be just your notes, and then you change them, and then it just doesn't work. So I wanted to do the VR version. I went on Reddit for Bitcoin to try to hire somebody to quickly do it for me, try to cook a little something, and it didn't work. I pay half, and the guy just disappeared. So I go, fuck it. I don't know if I can swear, but that's too late. Fuck it. So I had to do it myself, and then it became quite a long but fun ride, which went through a friend of mine. I went to one of his, I don't know if you know Open Tech School. They do nice workshop and create art for creativity, that's in Brussels. And I went to one of his processing workshop, and I didn't want to do Java, so he processing JS. And he looked behind my shoulder. He didn't say anything, but I know he was really pissed. But I somehow managed to do something. And I came back and I did a bit of 3JS for VR. And that led to 4 or 5 workshops for VR in 2015. This year, I started with a friend, VR Lab Brussels. So we do a VR workshop. We did 4, I think, since the beginning of this year. And thanks to Code Dojo Madrid, it's not just in Brussels that the workshops are used. They're used also in Madrid. And you can see maybe there are about this tall, and they're not programmers. So to give you the level of if you're a little bit scared or skeptical or whatnot, well, those kids are doing it. And they were not just experiencing VR, but they were making a VR experience. And that's what it is all about. I don't want people to just get what the big players are giving you. You can still do this, and they're doing a great job. But if you want to make your own virtual world, well, let's learn how to do it. There was a hackathon at the beginning of this year, the first one in Europe, and the team I was part of, we won in our VR category. We did a little bobsleigh game where you were somebody in front and somebody in the back, and you had to lean together synchronously to go faster. So it was all with 3GS and the WebVR boilerplate, and with Node behind to manage all the gadgets, because it had to go as fast as possible. So, okay, just to get a quick view, who tried the Vive, the HTC Vive? Nobody. Okay, who tried the Oculus? Okay, quite a few. Who tried the cardboard? Okay. Who made already something, whatever it is, no matter how, is it just a rotating cube or whatever, with WebGL? Okay. Who made a WebVR version of that? Okay. So it's easy. Again, you will see that's the point. Just something to keep in mind first, especially for those who haven't tried it. I mean, it's pointless for me to talk about VR. You just need to try it. So I'll distribute a bit around some cardboards, and you will have a demo. You can go online and check it, because I don't know, I don't have an equivalent of it. It's like talking about how delicious a warm slice of pizza is. Just go get it. So we'll see that after if you. How does that work? It's really, again, that's pretty simple. To get it right, it's really hard, but to get it working, it's easy. First, you split your screen in half. You have one for each eye, with just a little bit of shift between the two. So if you take your phone, you will just go on a little WebVR demo, because I will argue a bit why WebVR is better than anything else. But so I you need to see my back first. So you just see one cube for some of you. You see it? And when I move, it moves. When I just press the WebVR button, then you see two cubes with just enough degrees of difference that when you put the glasses, you'll just see it in 3D with a proper sense of immersion. So you have this, just split screen with a difference, and when I move the phone, it moved where the camera was looking at. That's it. That's VR. Because when you do that, then you're always looking, it's always displaying what you're supposed to look at. And that's enough to give a sense of immersion. So instead of being here, I'm in this dark room with a rotating cube. Not very exciting, but still I'm somewhere else. So some of you who did not try it, you need to try it because else it just... So who... Okay. So that's the cheapest you can get. It's a piece of carton. There is absolutely, I'll have another one. So if you have nice questions after, maybe I'll forget to take them back. It's really, that's literally a piece of carton. There is no hardware in it. I can drop it. I don't give a damn. And just two lenses because, well, the screen is a little bit too close to manage that. So that's it, really no magic. All the magic is done with the accelerometer and the gyroscope, and the screen, which has to be high quality enough. So if you haven't tried, the Oculus is really the same. It's much better, it's dedicated hardware, so it goes faster and you feel even more there. But honestly, it's a glorified cardboard. Nobody working at Oculus, but. And then you have the Vive, which I'm a little bit a fanboy of, because the difference with those is that you have in the room one camera here and one camera where the other one is, and then it will track your entire body. So when you move like this, you move in the virtual like this. You will have your little avatar moving with you. And when you turn around, when you have your little gamepad, it gets all those data. And then you can start to draw in 3D. You can start to juggle, you can do all this stuff. It's amazing interaction because really walking around is so natural, and those give you a kind of interaction that you don't have with the cardboard. The cardboard and the Oculus are nice, but without some kind of interaction, it's very, you reach the limit really fast. So why WebVR rather than installing an app? Well, you can start right now. Really. You can install, you have a modern browser, and on the phone, that's an iPhone 6. I didn't install anything. So if Apple, that is so close, I'm telling bad stuff about everybody, but that's okay. I'm not going too deep shit. If even Apple supports it, it's pretty good sign. So you have Microsoft also is participating to the specs, Google, Mozilla. Mozilla is basically the most active. But it's being supported. And if you go back, WebVR is not just for the cardboard. That's like the default thing one could assume. Because it's so cheap, the free stuff will come with it. Well, it doesn't have to. This, with all the controller, it's been supported since 2 or 3 days ago. So from the fanciest hardware to the this curve, just to explain, is if you really like this, that's amazing. But how many thousands are going to be sold? Really not that many. If you want to reach a lot of people, you can target the core. So you have to think about this with the way you will design the interactions. Here you have a lot of interaction possible. Here, well, just head movement basically. So the way you design your app or your game, you have to take that into account. So I will say more bad stuff. First, I agree, WebGL is nice, but it's hard. I did a little bit of OpenGL like more than 10 years ago, I want to admit. It works well, but it's really hard. 3JS makes it much easier, and it's JavaScript, so I should say, oh, you go this way, and everybody, but I don't think so. I will explain why, so I'll put a bit of provocation there. Unity and Unreal, they are the big guys. If you want to make a game and you already master them, maybe you should stick to that because it's really well done. And it's not really the engine themselves, because you will see you can already do something great with the A-frame and 3JS. It's more the whole toolkit, the whole tool chain rather. Like you already have the designer who knows this, all the guys who know the texture, all this. If you have already a shop to do games, you should stick to that. You have Babylon.js, which is done by Microsoft. It works well to do 3D on the web, but WebVR so far not really well supported. And you have X3DOM. Does anybody know it? Okay, so it comes from research. It comes from European funding. It's really good and precise, but it's very technical. If you don't know the XML, not even that, VR, not even VRML, but if you're not star ML, the star of star ML, good luck with that because it's to such a degree of abstraction. So it goes back to Unity and Unreal. If you don't have the whole tool chain with the professionals with it, it's going to be hard. So the new guy on the block, so far was only in 3JS. That was my main stuff. That was for the last 3 months or so. Really excited by it and with really good, how to say, demo, showcase, performance for the last, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years. It's really going well. And the new guy on the block is A-frame by Mozilla. That's what I'm a fan of now. I'll explain why. Because it uses a bit the architecture that you will use in games, if you already know that. It's the entity component model. So you will have your entity, which will be a cube, which will be a 3D model, mesh, which could be even the scene where you will stack all your other entities inside. You can also group them. And then you have components. So components can be the size of the cube, can be the color of the cube, can be all this. And the nice things now is that once you do A-frame, you have access to those primitives, like a cube, with a certain color, with a certain size, really easy. You don't need to know JavaScript, it's some kind of HTML. The thing is, at some point you will reach the limit, because it doesn't have all those components. If you want, I don't know, a cube that starts to morph to a sphere, for example. It's not like a primitive, but you want to have it, then you can just extend it. You add another component, which will be a morph component, let's say, and you morph that component using 3JS. So that's why we go back to JavaScript. It's that it's amazing. A-frame is the best to start, but at some point you will reach the limit, and you can extend it very easily. So you can start very easily, and you can extend quite well. Plus, you have a quite active community with lots of commits, getting more and more traction, and it's, if you have this, I think that's what I'm betting on right now. So, so yeah, you have A-frame to start, then you extend it with the component which rely on 3JS. And because it's for the web, you already have access to your favorite tools. If you went to a Meteor, you can use this behind, because you have your stack where you have WebGL at the bottom, you have 3JS on top, and then A-frame. So this is just to manipulate 3D, it's really hard. This is to make it much easier, and this is really to manipulate your content, but you can extend it easily. So you can have all this for your content, but nothing is preventing you from using your database, your interaction with nodes. You can have something multiplayer, you can have really all those. And React, because you have React A-frame already, so you can use your the templating system, you can now put directly, instead of using HTML, directly A-frame. So you have, instead of having your div, you will have your box, you will have whatever you want to do. The little difficulty then, once you know how to do all this, I would say the technical part is the easy part. Then how to do it well, that's a bit harder. So as we saw before, animation just for animations, maybe not so well. And the little difference with let's say 3D on the web is that you're not going to make somebody sick so far. With VR you are. At some point the guy's going to drop the headset and maybe your pens are not going to be as nice as before. Anyway, so you need to have a bit of UX ideas. Some of the principles, I don't see it really well, but you have some zone of comfort, you have some zone of discomfort. If you're in this little demo and something appears just next to your head, you're going to be a bit, it feels aggressive already. You have some space in front of you that will be roughly about 50 meters, 50 meters equivalent, let's say. And some space that is a bit down, so that's very comfortable. You're sitting, you can look in the direction. And then, what is nice is what's a bit around the corner. So if I make an object appear in this position, you're going to start to look at it, and then you're going to say, oh, actually, I forgot, but I can move all around. I can have all the freedom to explore the world. It's not just a 3D experience, it's immersion. The goal of VR is just to facilitate immersion. If you don't have it, then you don't have VR. So when you start to make objects that are just in the corner of the eyes, like this, then you start to move around. And when you start to move around, then you want to see more, you want to see what's all around. Another thing that's important for UX is maybe you know this from robotic, but the uncanny valley. If you start to have some cartoons, it's fun. If you have something that's really, you know it's fake, it's fun. If you have something that's really photorealistic, it's okay. If you have something that's, you don't really know if it's fake or not, then you will spend all your time thinking, whoa, is it the virtual world, is it not, is it so, either you're perfect, and so far nobody is, but prove me wrong, and you can do really photogenic, photorealistic rendering in real time, you can go there. For all the rest of us, I suggest cartoon and things that look not too real, because then you're in a safe place. But again, prove me wrong. A bit of technical, it's just that the goal is always to, before, if it's just 3D, you want to have only the screen being refreshed as fast as possible, but here, the latency between when you move your head and when you get the next frame really changes everything. So if you don't have really good hardware, accelerator and gyroscope, and or the sensor eventually that go fast enough, and then you want rendering that's not fast enough, then you'll have some jittering, and for sure the effect is lost, and you'll get somebody sick. You don't want. So, an early conclusion, but you'll see why. The goal again of VR is immersion. If you have excellent technical skill, but the person doesn't feel in that world, it's pointless. So you need to keep that in mind. If you want to add too many polygons, and maybe the hardware you're targeting will not handle it yet. That's a personal opinion, but I believe in Moore's law, and that the hardware I have now is okay-ish, but it's not the best. The hardware I'll have in 1 year, in 2 years, is going to be pretty amazing. And already when I try the Vive, I'm blown away. So I do stuff now that doesn't look so good, that's a little bit sluggish, that's a bit slow, but 1 year down the road, 2 years down the road, I'm quite confident that I won't have to go to the level to fix those details. Why A-frame rather than 3GS, despite being in the GS group? Because already what you know with the DOM, how to manipulate the DOM, you can reuse it. Because you have some custom elements, you have some quasi-HTML, then you can select all of them, and you can apply your transformation on all of them. The GS fatigue, like you mentioned, is yeah, okay. It's yet another framework. You will need to learn 3GS and A-frame, or at least A-frame. Well, deal with it. It's still exciting. It's still nice. And you have more fatigue and excitement because then it's the ecosystem that you already know. So if you don't want just tweening and easing for your transition, then you can have a physical engine. You have Canon.js. You have several others that will just, you will put your sphere and it will just drop on the floor. And it runs on the floor. Or the others or the part. Okay, so I had some other things that I have no clue how long I left. Okay. It's really easy to find assets. You don't have to find good assets, not that much, but to find good assets to start. You have lots of 3D libraries on the web. So I'm not a 3D artist. I don't plan to be, but I can find models of 3D quite easily. If you want to go much more advanced, of course, you have the shaders, as explained before. And it's not, if you have some basis of C, not that difficult. And once you have a good concept of 3D, that's also not difficult. And you make cool effects. So. The future of assets. So I'll turn around a bit. So two things. You have 360 photos. Like this, so it's a bit hidden on the back, but that's done with just one camera, 400 euros. You press a button, and then you have a whole sphere around you. No stitching required, no complicated things. Just press a button. Same for video. You put it here, you control with your phone, you record it, and all this then you can reuse in demo or whatever project you have. And also, because I'm a little bit egocentric, that's a 3D scan of myself. During the hackathon last January, there is a Belgian company called 3YS, I think, in Brussels, and they have lots of camera all around and lots of lights. You stay like this, they take a photo, and you get your mission. So lots of content like this that you can start to imagine. Let's say if I was selling shirts and I wanted the person to try it, and I had an online shop. I mean, we had example with the car, but all the assets are getting easier and easier to get. So it's not just for demo. You can think a bit further than this. Okay, I think that was okay. That's it. So now a bit of code because I didn't show any code. So how does this work? So the whole demo was there. First, you import A-frame. That's the basic, which under it will import 3GS. Because A-frame is nice, but it's not so complete yet, you'll import some component. So the idea of the component is, for example, text. This is, as you might have seen, it's in 3D. This is in 2D, the graphic render, but the text here is in 3D. So it's not supported yet by A-frame. Little frame by the component, publish it, you can access it, and you just display your text there. Same for the keyboard. I moved my slide with those. Maybe I should say, if you go to this address, well, I will give a bit more forward if you want it. If you go, and my phone is somewhere. It should be somewhere.
Shall I call you?
You are. Not a nice phone, it's okay. If you go up. No, it's not. Anyway. Thank you.
With a flat battery.
Because the idea is the idea was to show you that and the code, but also that. Okay. Okay, so that's in the phone. I move. I put in VR mode. So you tried it, so you know that now once in VR, you see it in VR. And I go a little bit down. I have some slack mode. You can't see anything. Trust me. I'll show you. It's not the same fun, but. If I look down with the phone, because you don't have any form of interaction, you don't have any joystick or whatnot. If I look down, so you use the gaze, because when you look somewhere, you admit that's where the person is interested in. You look down, up, and I'm at the next slide. And I look down, next slide. So I control the content with movement on. So here I'm at the third slide. So you can only start to think of all this. And if I had a bit more time, what I would have done was that I rushed a bit. I finished it this afternoon. If I had a bit more time, then you put Node.js behind, and then when all of us connect to it, then we can see the different avatars connected together. It's not baked in but new. It's really easy. You put your WebSocket server, you put everything that connects, plug it, and then you have a virtual world in minutes if you already know that. So the code, let's go back now that you've seen it's working and whatnot. So you import your A-frame, you import your components because it's not complete yet. You forget about the shaders because you're starting, so it's not so nice. And for example, there was no way to handle the slides with A-frame yet, as far as I know. So I did a little component. So I register my component, and then I listen to when there is a key press. So our right or our left. I increase my. I assume that if I press to the right, I want to increase my slide. I increase my little counter. I show in the result. So that's why it's interesting, and that's why I was saying before you recycle your knowledge of the DOM, is that the count I already declared. Let me show it. Down my text where I declare the counter, I give it an idea. Yeah, maybe I should start with that. So here, okay, that's my little counter. So it's just like a custom element. It is a custom element. It's an entity that has an ID, that has a scale because by default the text is too big. That has this content, which is the first number of the slide, and the position in 3D. It's like when you start, the camera is at a certain position, like 1.1. Well, I forgot 1.8. Maybe it's somewhere there. Anyway, it's behind you, and if you put an object at 0, 0, 0, it's just in front of you. If you put at 2, 0, 1, so 2 will be a bit to the left. No, a bit to the right. It takes, honestly, it's a bit of tinkering with the values. That's why if you start, use GSBin or Webpack-bin or whatever you prefer, or GSFiddle, because to get used to the coordinate system, a bit of tinkering. So you want to see the results straight away. So you get your position a bit to the right, straight at the eye level, and then one unit, which is equivalent to 1 meter further. And a color. So once you have this, because you already know how to do anything with the DOM, you go back, and you say, well, I just increased the slide position, the next slide, so I should update this. And then you look for all the slides you have with that specific class. So that's just one example, it's because that was the slide for the presentation. And that, as far as I know, hasn't been done before. So you look for the station update you can remove, and you go from those new customs elements that at some point can already do quite a bit, but if you don't, you extend them. Because we had animations also mentioned before, here is an example of animation. So that was the board. I don't know if you remember at the end, for the last slide, where all the text was written, the board disappeared in the ground. So what happened is on the slide 11, so I have an event that's been emitted. It registers and grabs this, or consumes it. And then it sends my board that was initially at the 00 position, no, 010 position, and it drops it to 0 minus 0 in 5 seconds. And this, so that's it. You have an entity, which is a simple board. You define an event, which is a slide, or could be some kind of anything else you want. It can be also a duration. You say, oh, I want to use keyframe by keyframe instead of thinking of interactions and events. Then you just say, okay, you start at 10,000 seconds or 10 seconds. Something also to clarify. So that was the whole presentation that you see. Bit of text, some, I don't know what's interesting to see specifically, but you have curved images. You have really some nice defined entity baked into the framework. Yeah, one thing that's important though to see is if you want to work on the scene after it's been defined, then you select the scene. So the scene is where you put all your entities. You check that it's been loaded, and if it has been loaded, then you run all the code. Because if you don't do this, then what you will have, it's an important subtlety, but yes, you have a custom element, you have your DOM at the beginning, but once A-frame has run, then you have your DOM entities plus the 3GS values. Because in the end it's 3D, so it has to go somewhere. So it attached to each element of the DOM that's been found, so things like those, the sky, the entity. It attaches the actual 3D values. Does it make sense? The 3D values have to be, for example, the position. If you put a div, you don't have a position in 3D. So you have to extend it somewhere, and you have to process it somewhere. So you attach it to this. And one last thing, let's say, you have little things like this mixed in that you should know, and this way you don't have to rewrite it still quite a bit, but you can factor quite a bit of your code. So you have your components and you also have mixing. Okay. What else? I think that's it. I mean, that's not it. There is a lot more to say, but I think at this point it's better if you just try, and if you ask me questions for what was not clear, because I'm pretty sure that everything was. So, questions? Yes?
So you included the logo of Blender
in
solutions?
Yeah.
Can you export the Blender creations in something which is web friendly?
You have Blender for web, or Blend for web, that you can export your entire scene on it. After that, that's why, I mean, exporting is good, but at some point you don't have interactions anymore, or easy interactions. So I haven't, my mini-me, let's say, I what's the name? Decimated the number of polygons using Blender, and I exported it to JSON. So I use Blender also at some point, but not for the actual end result with all the interactions. Because I think it's good to start with and to play with, but and to export your 3D models. But the scene itself, there is a plugin for it. The whole limitation of it. There is also a Blender group in Brussels. They organize meetup or workshop from time to time. they will surely know that. Yeah.
How would you use a video as a texture?
Oh, it's not. So you have a company. So it's a good question. I'm a little bit greedy. I wanted to put everything in the slides. I wanted to put, at some point, the computer did not handle it so well. So I don't know if it's the computer or me, but I had to say, okay, that's enough content. But I'll show you a little demo I've done with that. You can have not just video, but you can have 360 videos. Like I say, if you have the little theta S, you can register your 360 video and just play it back. So I'll show this. That's me again. They must think, what the heck is centric? After the 3D model, the video of himself. So that's to explain a class on. So that's the video, and then the code. I don't know the shortcut.
Oh, you go on tools, you were already on.
What was it?
If you go,
Shift U, Command, Shift
no, if you just go back to the menu on the right, you open and you go down to tools. So plus the T.
Okay.
And here you should have.
Outil développement.
Yeah.
So I use Firefox in case anybody wonders. What was it?
Is there a way you can? I just want to see the frame. Yeah.
Well, it's one line of code. You just declare where the video is.
If you go back to the tools and you select video, you're gonna get, yeah, you go back to the last one, and then on the far right, you have a on the left you have a clicker right there. The click left go on the tools. Yeah. If you click this one, you can select the video.
Not in 3D.
Not in 3D.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm out.
But it's so there are definitely online 3D editors for 3D that are working on this. So at some point you will be able to do this. Not yet, but you can't like inspect an element directly. You will, but not yet. But that's I'm very confused because that's not the actual code. It's been somehow.
Isn't it? I see there. That's the one.
Oh, it's really ugly.
Looks like Philos.
Anyway, it's ugly, but it's working. So if you right click on that's your video. That's it. That's as simple as that. You can't see anything. So you declare your R for A-frame, then video, the source. You can't directly link to YouTube yet, but at some point you will. The size, the width and height, just like you would do with a normal element. Position, so that's a little different because you're in 3D. And that's it, nothing inside. You can then, after that, you can control it. For example, here it's starting from the beginning, but you can declare an event that will say pause and pause the video. You can have animation on the video, make it flip, make it turn, make it whatever you want. You can then process with the shaders also. I mean, so yeah, video and 360 video. Very easy to.
Does it work with animated cues?
Why would you do this? I don't think so.
Cats.
It works with
Come on.
it works with actual video. I mean,
Making snow is always fun.
yes. Well, you can have actual particles. You can have a GIF. I don't know. Let's check quickly so that you see how the dock looks like.
It's ultraviolet GIF.
But I see that you're creative, so I'm pretty sure there will be some nice demo coming soon. So that's at my computer, just in case somebody wonders, like, what the heck is this guy doing in the front? That's at my computer. I don't use Mac, so I also have no clue what I'm doing. Doc. So that's good actually that you forced me to do this. So you have the core of the framework, which is the entity, like I said. So that's why you declare the video, the component. For example, you want to declare that you want to make slides instead, so you extend it. System, it's not really, it's zero, I should have mentioned this. It's 0.2, the library version. So it's work in progress, it's exciting, but it's stuff breaks. Like what I did yesterday, I wasn't sure it would work today. So you have to keep this in mind. But it's getting more and more proper, and you see quickly that the architecture is meaningful and it will keep on extending properly. The animations that I showed, the mixing that I showed quickly, the shaders that I skipped, which was at the end, you can see it in the code. The asset management system, so you can declare everything at the beginning. The camera, because you can still play with the camera. You can keep the VR effect, but you can move it around, you can have different angles and everything. Yeah, that's how it's keep. You have funny things like you want fog, it's pretty easy to do. Geometry, light also. I wanted to, but I'm not sure why it didn't work. I wanted the last slide to have the lark fading down, so that you could just like go to sleep or go have the pizza easily. Didn't work. Showed those, so it was my fault. Raycaster, so that have you grab an object with your gaze. Sound. I didn't show any sound, but you look at a cube. Quick. You look at something else. You can animate. You can have the sound that matches your gaze. All this kind of thing is really easy. And then all those. So, for example, image, and then you can see nothing. So you try it, it works or not. But the doc is pretty well done. Slack, the Slack is really active. All the main contributors will reply. It's mostly San Francisco time zone, but if they don't sleep that much those days, you can ask and you will be surprised at how quickly they answer. Yeah, that's pretty well done. And then the primitive changes, but because of the entity component system, you can add your own, you can, that's pretty simple. The photosphere, that was saying, that's pretty nice. Okay, other question? Yes?
Yeah. So you were talking about, well, you decimated the model to reduce the polygon count, etc. And well, what about the performance and maybe a bit sluggish and can handle it?
Yeah.
So what's the ballpark figure? How much can it handle? How many polygons do you handle?
So I will escape the question by saying it doesn't mean anything in the sense that if you use this, or if you use the 5, with somebody who will have a 3,000 euros computer with 4 latest NVIDIA within slide, yeah, it will be slower on this and much faster on his own. So yeah. Because it's I'm avoiding the question because it's kind of the amazing and horrible thing of WebVR is that's what we, I guess, most of us struggle on a daily basis. It's not how good it looks on my phone. It's how it looks on your phone that I haven't tested yet. And how when you'll go home and try the demo that I've done with the slide, it might not look the same, it might be slower, faster. So I think like you should be doing now is you try for the target market or the target users you're aiming for, and if it runs okay on the machine, that's good enough. But again, 1 year, 2 years, it's going so fast. All the And maybe I haven't said that. So all this runs in the browser, but all the 3D runs on the GPU. So you can still be greedy, huh? It's and it runs faster on my iPhone than not this machine, but on my laptop, because it has a proper GPU. If you want to use the physics engine, well, then you'll be a bit more parsimonious because that's costly. But if you use just if you rely just on the GPU, you can still be greedy already. Yeah. Next question. Yeah.
In the